You remember 2023, right? That was the year generative AI just exploded into our lives, and it felt like it changed everything overnight. Well, what if I told you that in 2025, that exact same kind of revolutionary tipping point happened, but for medicine? You see, while we were all playing with AI, a completely different revolution was brewing in drug development. In 2025, a perfect storm of new rules, new tech, and new laws created what you could only call a ChatGPT moment for a technology that is set to completely redefine how we discover new medicines.
And let's be clear, this revolution didn't happen just for fun. It happened because it absolutely had to. For decades, we've been relying on a fundamentally broken system. And the core problem? This number. A staggering 90% of drugs that are proven safe in animal tests go on to fail in human trials. Think about the billions of dollars and, more importantly, the countless lives lost because of that gap.
So what's the answer? It's a technology called organ on a chip. Now, I know it sounds like something straight out of science fiction, but just imagine tiny, living, functioning models of human organs, like a lung, a liver, or a heart, all grown on a microchip. They let scientists test drugs on actual human biology, which is obviously way more relevant to you and me than a mouse ever could be.
But here's the thing about a technology this disruptive. It can't take off if the old rules are still in place. And in 2025, the regulatory dam didn't just get a few cracks, it burst wide open.
It all happened in a single whirlwind month. First, on April 10th, the FDA dropped a bombshell, a plan to phase out mandatory animal testing. Then, just 19 days later, the NIH followed up with its own massive announcement, shifting research funding towards human-based models. This wasn't a coincidence. It was a coordinated signal from the top that the game was officially changing.
And they got really specific. They didn't just say, hey, stop using animals. They pointed to the future, officially embracing what they called New Approach Methodologies, or NAMs. And what are NAMs? Well, it's the whole shebang. AI, these complex cell cultures called organoids, and of course, tissue chips. The goal was to build a faster, cheaper, and just plain better way to get new drugs to people who need them.
The new FDA commissioner at the time, Dr. Marty Makary, really didn't mince words. This quote just says it all. The vision wasn't just about being more humane, it was about finally using better, more modern science to get safer drugs to patients faster.
Okay, so policy announcements are great, but to make a revolution real, you need two more things. You need an engine to build the infrastructure, and you need that one moment of definitive proof that shows everybody the new way actually works.
So what was the engine? In September, the NIH put its money where its mouth was. They announced the creation of the first ever standardized organoid modeling center. This was the key, the piece of the puzzle that would make this incredible technology reliable and available to everyone. Kicking it off with an $87 million contract, the SOM Center had a crystal clear mission: solve the biggest problem with organoids, which was reproducibility. You see, by using AI and robotics, they wanted to create standardized models so that a result from a lab in California could be trusted and repeated by a lab in Germany. And all of this led to the billion-dollar question that was hanging over the entire industry. It all sounds great in theory, right? But could an organ-on-a-chip model really generate data strong enough to get a new drug approved for human trials with absolutely no animal data to back it up?
And then on October 6th, the world got its answer. The FDA gave the green light for a human clinical trial for a new cancer therapy. And the unbelievable part? It was based entirely on data from an organ-on-a-chip platform. No animals were used. This was it. This was the moment everything changed. The hero of this story was a platform called VTime from a company named Curator. And this isn't just a fancy petri dish. We're talking about an incredibly advanced 3D model of a tumor, complete with its own blood vessels and immune cells. It was so close to a real human tumor that the FDA agreed its data was good enough to go straight into human testing.
Now, as you can imagine, an approval like this doesn't happen in a vacuum. It was the starting pistol for a global race away from animal testing.
And the dominoes fell fast. Suddenly, the United Kingdom was unveiling its own aggressive roadmap to phase out animal testing. And back in the US, the CDC took this wild step, instructing its own scientists to end all research on monkeys. The momentum was undeniable.
And that UK plan wasn't just talk. They put concrete dates on it, targeting specific tests to be eliminated within just a few years. It showed that this shift to human-relevant models was quickly becoming a coordinated international priority. So the science was proven. The regulators were on board. All that was left was one final piece to make this revolution permanent. It had to be written into law.
And that's exactly what happened on December 16th. The U.S. Senate passed the FDA Modernization Act 3.0. This was the bill designed to make the official regulations finally catch up with the new scientific reality.
The real power of this law came down to a single word. For decades, the old rules always said testing had to be based on animal studies. The new law went in and replaced the word animal with non-clinical. Now that might sound like a tiny, boring change, but it was monumental. It legally blew the doors wide open for any validated method, like an organ on a chip, to officially take the place of animal testing.
So, when you put it all together, the policy, the proof of concept, and the law, it's pretty clear that 2025 wasn't just a year of progress. It was the year we officially entered a new era of medicine.
And of course, the money followed. Just look at these market projections. The organ on a chip and organoid markets are now forecast to absolutely explode. This isn't some niche experiment anymore. It's the future of a multi-billion-dollar industry.
So this is it. This is the fundamental paradigm shift we all witnessed. For 100 years, the path to a new medicine started with an animal. Now, thanks to the revolution of 2025, it starts with a human cell, a human organoid, a human on a chip.
And that leaves us with the most exciting question of all. With these new tools that are faster, cheaper, and infinitely more relevant to our own biology, what challenges that once seemed impossible, from Alzheimer's to rare cancers, will we finally be able to conquer? The human-first era has officially begun.